The call came at 9:43 on a Tuesday night. I was sitting in my cabin watching the lake reflect moonlight when my phone shattered the peace. Sarah's number. But it wasn't her voice. Mr. Thompson. This is St. Mary's Hospital. Your daughter's been in an accident. My coffee mug crashed to the floor. Racing through dark highways, I made the 3-hour drive in 2. Bursting through emergency doors, I found Dr. Marcus Whitfield waiting. The chief surgeon pulled me into an empty conference room, hands trembling as he pressed an envelope into my palm. Your son-in-law did something terrible. Take your grandchildren and leave the city immediately. I tore it open. The photographs inside made my blood drain away. I stared at the surveillance photos spread across the conference table, each one more damning than the last. My son-in-law James, the man I'd welcomed into our family 5 years ago, stood in a warehouse shaking hands with Vincent Torino. Even after 15 years of retirement, my prosecutor's instincts recognized the most dangerous crime boss on the East Coast. Dr. Whitfield closed the door and checked the hallway before speaking. Lynn, what I'm about to tell you goes beyond hospital protocol. Your daughter came to me 3 weeks ago with these photos and more. She discovered James has been using his investment firm to wash money for the Torino family. My legs felt weak. James Morrison, who taught Sunday school and coached my grandson's baseball team, was laundering money for murderers. The man who'd stood at the altar promising to protect my daughter had been living a complete lie. The accident, I whispered, already knowing the answer, wasn't an accident. Whitfield's voice dropped lower. Sarah found financial records proving James has been stealing from client accounts to cover his tracks. She made copies and was planning to meet with the FBI tomorrow morning. Someone leaked her plans. I gripped the table edge, fighting waves of nausea and rage. Where is she? I need to see my daughter! The doctor placed a hand on my shoulder. Lynn, I need you to listen carefully. Sarah isn't in surgery. She's in protective custody 3 floors down. We staged the emergency to buy time. James ordered the hit, but the driver botched it. Sarah's injured but alive. However, James and Torino believe she's dying. My mind raced through implications. You're saying my son-in-law tried to murder my daughter to stop her from testifying. The FBI has been building a case against Torino for 2 years. Sarah stumbled into the middle of it. She's been working as an informant for the past month, gathering evidence from James's home office. Whitfield pulled out a badge. I'm not just a surgeon, Lynn. Agent Marcus Whitfield, FBI, Sarah's handler. I sank into a chair trying to process this nightmare. Does James know she survived? No, and we need to keep it that way. Right now he's in the waiting room playing the distraught husband. We have nurses feeding him updates about her critical condition. If he learns she's alive and cooperating, he'll run, or worse, go after your grandchildren. Emma and Jack. My chest tightened, thinking of my 8-year-old granddaughter and 6-year-old grandson at home with a monster. What do you need me to do? Go back out there. Play the grieving father. We need James to believe his plan worked while we finish building our case. Sarah left something for you. He handed me a small key. Safety deposit box at First National, box 517. She said you'd know what to do with what's inside. I pocketed the key, my prosecutor's mind already formulating plans. How long do we have? 72 hours at most. After that, James will expect to see a body or death certificate. We're preparing fake documents, but he's smart. He'll verify everything. Standing up, I straightened my shoulders. For 15 years, I'd been a federal prosecutor taking down men like James. Retirement hadn't dulled my instincts, just given me time to perfect my patience. Tell Sarah I love her. Tell her Daddy's going to handle this. Whitfield nodded. She said you'd say that. Lynn, be careful. James has killed before. 3 of his clients died in accidents over the past 2 years. We just haven't been able to prove it yet. I walked toward the door, then paused. Doctor, In my experience, criminals make two mistakes. They underestimate their victims, and they overestimate themselves. James just made both. Stepping into the hallway, I transformed my face into a mask of grief. Time to give the performance of my life. James jumped up when he saw me, his face a perfect picture of anguish. His tall frame and quarterback shoulders made him appear strong, protective. Those blue eyes that had charmed my daughter now brimmed with manufactured tears.
"Lynn, thank God you're here. They won't tell me anything. How is she?"
I let my body sag, playing the broken father. "Not good, son. Not good at all. The doctor says—" I choked on words I didn't need to fake. "We should prepare ourselves." He pulled me into an embrace that made my skin crawl. Over his shoulder, I noticed a text message flash on his phone. "Is it done?" He quickly flipped it over, but not before I memorized the number.
"I can't believe this happened,"
James said, his voice cracking with fake emotion.
"She was just going to the store for milk. Why didn't I go instead?"
"Because you needed an alibi," I thought. Aloud, I said, "These things happened, son. Random accidents." A nurse approached one of Whitfield's team by her knowing look. "Mr. Morrison, your wife is being stabilized. It'll be several hours before you can see her. Perhaps you should go home, check on your children." James hesitated, clearly torn between maintaining his image and whatever dark business awaited him. "You're right. Lynn, will you call me if anything changes?" "Of course." I patted his arm, bile rising in my throat. "Go take care of Emma and Jack. They need their father right now." As he walked away, I caught him typing rapidly on his phone. The predator thought he'd won. He had no idea he'd just entered my hunting ground. The next morning arrived with gray skies and steady rain-fitting weather for a performance of grief. I drove to James and Sarah's house in Westbrook Estates, an upscale neighborhood where lawyers and bankers raised their families behind white picket fences. The American dream twisted into nightmare. James answered the door wearing yesterday's clothes, his appearance carefully disheveled. "Lynn, thank God. Any word from the hospital?" "They called an hour ago. She's stable but still critical. They're keeping her sedated." I let my voice break. "The doctor said the next 48 hours will determine everything." He guided me inside, past family photos that now seemed like evidence in a case. Sarah's smile beamed from every wall, unaware of the serpent she'd married. The house smelled of coffee and something burning. "Sorry about the smell. I was trying to make breakfast for the kids, but—" He gestured helplessly at the kitchen where smoke wisped from a pan. I moved to the stove, turning off the burner. "Let me help. You look exhausted." I didn't sleep. Kept thinking about Sarah, about how I should have driven her to the store. His performance deserved an award. "Lynn, I need to ask you something difficult." Here it comes, I thought. "What is it, son?" "If the worst happens, there are financial matters to consider. Sarah has life insurance policies, investments. The children will need stability." He pulled out a folder thick with documents. "Would you mind signing as witness on some paperwork, just precautionary?" I scanned the papers while pretending to be overwhelmed. Power of attorney transfers, beneficiary changes, asset liquidation authorizations. He was already counting my daughter's money. "James, I can't think about this right now." "I understand, but the insurance company needs these filed within 72 hours of the incident. Bureaucracy doesn't pause for grief." He pushed a pen toward me. "It's what Sarah would want. Security for Emma and Jack." Footsteps on the stairs saved me from responding. My grandchildren appeared still in pajamas, their faces puffy from crying. "Grandpa—" Emma ran into my arms, her small body shaking with sobs. "Is Mommy coming home?" I held them both close, fury burning beneath my skin. These innocent souls living under the same roof as their mother's would-be killer. "Mommy's very sick right now, sweetheart. The doctors are taking care of her." Jack, clutching a stuffed dinosaur, looked up with Sarah's green eyes. "Daddy said she might go to heaven. I don't want her to go." Over their heads, I watched James check his phone again, fingers flying over the screen. His mask slipped for just a moment, revealing irritation at the interruption. "Why don't you two go get dressed?" James said. "Grandpa and I need to talk about grown-up things." "Actually," I intervened, "I'd like to make them breakfast first. You handle your business calls, James. I know this situation has put you in a difficult position at work." Relief flashed across his face. "You're right. I should check in with the office. Several deals pending." He grabbed his laptop and headed for his study. As I scrambled eggs, Emma stayed close, her 8-year-old intuition sensing something beyond her mother's absence. "Grandpa Daddy's been acting weird." "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "He keeps going into Mommy's room and taking her things. I saw him put her computer in a box." She lowered her voice. "And he was talking to a lady on the phone last night. He said Mommy's name, but he sounded angry." From the mouths of babes, I kept my tone casual. "People act strange when they're worried. What else have you noticed? He told us we might go on a trip soon, somewhere far away, but Mommy doesn't like flying, so why would we go without her?" My blood chilled. I served breakfast while my mind catalogued every detail. After the children ate, I sent them to play and went looking for James. His study door was closed, but I could hear his voice through the wood. "No, Torino wants confirmation before he releases the rest. I told him 72 hours. Yes, I understand the timeline. The kids are the insurance policy. If things go south—" I knocked loudly. The conversation stopped immediately. James opened the door phone, nowhere in sight. "Sorry to interrupt. The hospital called. They need insurance information." The lie came easily. "Of course." He moved to his filing cabinet, giving me a clear view of his desk. Financial statements, plane tickets, and a legal pad covered in calculations. One name kept appearing: Diana Chen. As he searched for insurance cards, I memorized everything visible. Flight to Costa Rica departure in 6 days. 3 tickets. He was planning to take my grandchildren and run. Found them. He handed me the cards, then noticed my attention on his desk. In one smooth motion, he closed the laptop and shuffled papers. Market analysis. Even tragedy doesn't stop commerce. I nodded, playing dumb. "I'll head to the hospital now. Call if you need anything." "Lynn, wait." He touched my shoulder and I fought not to recoil. "About those papers. I hate to pressure you, but time really is critical." "Tomorrow," I said. "After we know more about Sarah's condition. I can't think about money when my daughter is fighting for her life." Disappointment flickered in his eyes before the mask returned. "Of course. Family first." Walking to my car, I noticed the black sedan parked across the street. Tinted windows, engine running. Torino's men keeping tabs on their investment. At my truck, I found what I was looking for. Sarah had taught me her trick years ago, hiding spare keys in magnetic boxes. But this wasn't a key. The small recorder contained her voice, trembling but determined. "Dad, if you're listening to this, something's happened to me. Check my jewelry box, the false bottom under Mom's ring. I've documented everything. James isn't who we thought. He's stolen millions, Dad. And I think he killed Marcus Webb and the Johnsons. Their accident reports don't add up. There's a woman named Diana. He's planning to leave with her once he gets my insurance money. Please protect my babies. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I love you." I sat in my truck, rain drumming the roof as pieces clicked together. My little girl had been investigating her husband for months, gathering evidence while living with a killer. She'd inherited more than her mother's eyes. She had my instinct for justice. Time to show James what happened when someone threatened a prosecutor's family. But first, I needed to visit that safety deposit box and see what other surprises my brilliant daughter had left behind. First National Bank occupied a corner of downtown Morrison, its marble columns suggesting stability and trust. The same qualities James had faked to infiltrate our lives. I approached the safety deposit boxes with Sarah's key, wondering what evidence my daughter had risked her life to gather. Box 517 contained 3 flash drives, a manila envelope, and a letter in Sarah's handwriting. I read it first. Dad, if you have this, then my worst fears came true. Everything you need is here. USB 1 contains financial records showing James stole from 12 clients over 3 years. USB 2 has recordings of his conversations with Vincent Torino and someone named Diana Chen. USB 3 has correspondence between James and contract killers regarding the Johnsons and Marcus Webb. The envelope has contact information for their families. They deserve to know the truth. Be careful. James is more dangerous than we imagined. He keeps a gun in his study bottom drawer, left side. I love you. Take care of my babies. I pocketed everything and left, quickly noticing another black sedan in the bank parking lot. They were watching me now, too. Back at my apartment, I plugged in the first drive. Spreadsheets filled my screen showing systematic theft from elderly clients. James had targeted widows and retirees, people who trusted him with their life savings. The Johnsons lost $400,000 before their fatal accident. Marcus Webb had discovered discrepancies and demanded answers 2 days before his brakes failed. The second drive chilled me further. Sarah had planted recording devices throughout the house, capturing James's real voice. Torino, I need more time. The FBI's sniffing around. No, my wife doesn't suspect anything. If she becomes a problem, I'll handle it like the others. The children are my insurance. Nobody pursues a fatter with 2 kids. Another recording, a woman's sultry voice. Once you get the insurance money, we can disappear. Rio's beautiful this time of year, baby. How much longer do we have to pretend? James responding, Soon, Diana. One way or another, Sarah won't be a problem much longer. I copied everything onto multiple drives, hiding them in various locations. Then I made a call to an old colleague. Carlos Rivera, Private Investigations. Carlos, it's Lynn Thompson. Lynn, how's retirement treating you? I need your help. Quietly. It's about Sarah. His tone shifted immediately. Carlos had worked with me for a decade, taking down corruption in high places. What do you need? I gave him the basics, leaving out FBI involvement. Within hours, Carlos called back with preliminary findings. Diana Chen isn't just a mistress, Lynn. She's got a fascinating history. 5 previous relationships with wealthy men, all of whom died or disappeared after signing over assets. She's either the unluckiest woman alive or she's working with James to run long-term theft operations. Gets worse. Torino's getting nervous. Word on the street is he thinks James is skimming. Your son-in-law owes him $2 million, and Torino's not known for payment plans. Find out everything about Diana. Photos, habits, where she's staying. Already on it. Lynn, be careful. Torino's killed for far less than $2 million. After hanging up, I returned to James's house. He greeted me with red-rimmed eyes and a 5 o'clock shadow the grieving husband act in full swing. Any change? He asked. Still critical. The doctors are concerned about brain swelling. I let exhaustion color my voice. James, I've been thinking about what you said, about the papers. His attention sharpened. Yes, maybe you're right. We should ensure the children's future. But I'd like to review everything with my attorney first. Estate planning was never my specialty. Of course. Disappointment flashed before he caught himself. Though time is a factor. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll bring my lawyer. I paused, baiting the hook. Also, I'm struggling at the cabin alone. Would it be all right if I moved in here temporarily to help with the children? The request clearly surprised him. I watched him calculate advantages and risks. Having me close meant monitoring my activities, but also maintaining his cover. That's very generous, Lynn. The kids would love having you here. He forced a smile. When would you want to move in? Day after tomorrow, I need to gather some things, make arrangements. Perfect. I'll prepare the guest room. His phone buzzed. A quick glance and his jaw tightened. Excuse me, work emergency. He disappeared into his study. I used the opportunity to check Sarah's jewelry box, finding the false bottom exactly where she'd described. Inside were more recordings photos of James with Diana, and a small notebook documenting suspicious deaths among his clients. "Grandpa," Emma appeared in the doorway. "Are you looking for something?" "Just remembering your mother's jewelry, sweetheart. She loved this box." Emma climbed onto the bed beside me. "Mommy told me secrets about Daddy. She said if anything happened, I should tell you." My heart stopped. "What kind of secrets?" "She said Daddy has a special friend who calls late at night. A lady with black hair who smells like cigarettes. Mommy saw them at a restaurant when Daddy said he was working." "Did Mommy say anything else?" Emma nodded solemnly. "She said Daddy keeps important papers in a place nobody would look. Under the basement stairs there's a loose board. She showed me once but said never to touch it." Sarah had turned our granddaughter into a backup plan. Brilliant and heartbreaking. "Thank you for telling me, sweetheart. You're very brave." "Will Mommy be okay?" I hugged her close. "I'm going to make sure you and Jack and Mommy are all safe. That's a promise." Later, while James dealt with his mysterious work emergency and the children played upstairs, I investigated the basement. The loose board revealed a waterproof container. Inside 2 passports with James's photo but different names, $50,000 in cash, and documents for offshore accounts. But the real prize was a ledger detailing every crime, every payment, every murder. James's insurance policy against Torino containing enough evidence to destroy the entire organization. He'd been planning his exit for years, waiting for the perfect opportunity. I photographed everything, replaced it carefully, and went upstairs. Through the study door, I heard James arguing. "I don't care what Torino wants. Tell him he'll get his money after the insurance pays out. Yes, I know what happens if I don't deliver. The old man, he's clueless. Broken up about his daughter. He'll sign anything I put in front of him." I smiled grimly. Let him think that. In 48 hours, James Morrison would learn exactly what happened when you threatened a prosecutor's family. But first, I needed to ensure my grandchildren's safety and give Sarah justice for every life James had destroyed. The hunt was just beginning. Moving into James's house felt like entering the den of a rabid wolf. I arrived with 2 suitcases and a dozen boxes, each strategically packed with surveillance equipment Carlos had provided. James helped carry them in, never suspecting the boxes labeled photo albums contained cameras and recording devices. "I really appreciate this, Lynn," James said, hefting a box marked books that held a signal interceptor. "The kids have been asking for you constantly." "Family supports family," I replied, watching him closely. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his movements seemed jumpy. The pressure was building. That first night after everyone slept, I worked quietly. Cameras went into air vents, motion sensors behind picture frames, and listening devices throughout the house. By dawn, I could monitor every room from my laptop. The next morning brought disturbing intelligence. Carlos called while James was in the shower. "Lynn, I've been digging into those names from Sarah's notebook. Marcus Webb's widow Jennifer is willing to talk. She never believed the accident report. And get this, Diana Chen checked into the Marriott downtown 2 days before Sarah's accident. She's here. Room 812 registered under Diana Morrison. She's already using his last name." I heard the shower stop. "Send me everything. Got to go." Living with James revealed his true nature. Through the cameras, I watched him make calls from his car, always checking for surveillance. He met with hard-looking men in parking garages exchanging envelopes. His mask only dropped when alone, revealing cold calculation. On my 3rd night there, Emma had a nightmare. I found her crying in the hallway, but James's door remained closed despite her sobs. He'd heard her. I'd seen his light go on. He simply didn't care. "Grandpa, I dreamed Mommy was trying to come home, but Daddy wouldn't let her in." Children's intuition often surpassed adult blindness. I held her until she slept, then carried her back to bed. Through her window, I spotted a now familiar black sedan. Torino's men were practically living on our street. The next day, while James was at work, I met with Jennifer Webb. The 42-year-old widow looked older, grief etching permanent lines around her eyes. Marcus found discrepancies in our retirement accounts, she told me over coffee. $400,000 gone. When he confronted James suddenly, we started getting strange phone calls. Cars following us. Marcus was scared. What happened the night he died? He was meeting James to demand answers. Said if James didn't return the money, he'd go to the authorities. Her voice broke. His brakes failed on Mountain Road. The investigator said it was mechanical failure, but Marcus just had the car serviced. I showed her one of the flash drives. Would you be willing to testify if we could prove James was responsible? In a heartbeat. He didn't just steal money, Mr. Thompson. He stole my husband, my children's father. That afternoon, I planted seeds with James. The hospital called. They're talking about taking Sarah off life support if there's no improvement by tomorrow. His reaction was textbook sociopathy, calculated grief, masking anticipation. That's devastating. But we have to think about quality of life, Lynn. What would Sarah want? I keep hoping for a miracle, I said, letting my voice waver. But you're right. We should prepare. About those papers you mentioned. I have everything ready? Too eager, too fast. Would tomorrow morning work? My attorney can meet us at 9? Make it 10. I want to visit Sarah first. That evening, I overheard a crucial conversation through the study door. James was on speaker, and Diana Chen's voice filled the room. Baby Torino's getting impatient. He wants his money. Tell me something I don't know. The old man signs tomorrow. Insurance pays out within a week if we're lucky. What about the FBI investigation Sarah mentioned? Dies with her. Without her testimony, they have nothing. We'll be in Costa Rica before anyone realizes what happened. And the children. James's pause spoke volumes. Tickets are booked. Whether they use them depends on how cooperative they are. My blood turned to ice. He was planning to abandon or sell my grandchildren if they became inconvenient. I texted Carlos immediately. Need extraction plan for the kids, 72 hours max. The next morning brought a disturbing discovery. Reviewing overnight footage, I saw James enter my room at 3 a.m. He stood over my bed for 5 full minutes, watching me sleep. In his hand was something that glinted in the moonlight. A knife. He'd been deciding whether I was worth keeping alive. At breakfast, I gave nothing away. I've been thinking about the future, James. Once we get through this tragedy, maybe you and the kids should come stay at my cabin for a while. Fresh start. That's generous, Lynn. We'll see how things develop. He checked his phone constantly, anxiety radiating from every gesture. Emma interrupted. Daddy, why were you in Grandpa's room last night? James went rigid. What are you talking about, sweetheart? I saw you from the bathroom. You were standing by his bed. His recovery was smooth, but not quite fast enough. Checking on Grandpa, making sure he was okay. He's been under stress. I played along. That's thoughtful, son. Though I sleep pretty soundly these days. Didn't even know you were there. The look that passed between us could have frozen hell. He knew that I knew. The game had shifted. After he left for work, I called Agent Whitfield. We have a problem. James is escalating. I need to see Sarah today. Too risky. He might have you followed. Then make it look real. Have her transferred to a different hospital. During the confusion, I slip in for 5 minutes. Whitfield sighed. You prosecutors and your schemes? Fine. 3 o'clock. Mercy General. She'll be in room 417 for exactly 1 hour. I spent the morning documenting everything, creating backup files stored in multiple cloud accounts. If something happened to me, the evidence would automatically forward to the FBI, local police, and every major news outlet. Carlos arrived at noon with troubling news. Torino's losing patience. Word is he's given James 48 hours to produce the money, or the kids disappear as collateral. Not happening. I handed him a key. Storage unit on Riverside. Everything's there if things go wrong. Lynn, maybe it's time to pull the plug. Get the FBI to move. Soon. But first I need James to hang himself completely. One partial confession on tape and he walks. I want him buried so deep he never sees daylight. That afternoon's hospital visit provided the emotional fuel I needed. Sarah lay in a secure ward, bruised but alert. Seeing her father, she burst into tears. "Daddy, I'm so sorry. I should have told you sooner." "Hush now." I held her carefully, mindful of her injuries. "You did everything right. I'm proud of you. The kids, safe for now. Carlos has a team ready to extract them when we move. 48 hours, Sarah. Then you get your life back." "Is James really capable of... Did he actually try to..." "Yes, but he failed. And tomorrow he's going to sign his own death warrant thinking he's securing his future." She gripped my hand. "I found something else, Dad. In his computer history. He's been researching how to forge death certificates. I think he planned this for months." We talked for 20 precious minutes before Whitfield signaled time was up. Leaving my daughter again was agony, but necessary. That evening, James's mask slipped further. At dinner, he watched me with predatory focus, no longer bothering to hide his scrutiny. "Tomorrow's a big day," he said over pot roast. "Lots of decisions to make." "Yes," I agreed. "Life-changing decisions." Emma and Jack sensed the tension eating quietly. I'd already arranged for Carlos's wife Maria, a former teacher, to pick them up from school tomorrow. They'd think it was a play date. Really, it was protective custody. Later reviewing the day's recordings, I found gold. James had called Torino, directly negotiating my grandchildren's value. 50,000 each delivered to an address in Newark. The transaction was scheduled for tomorrow night. I made copies of everything, then prepared my final surprise. In James's study behind his prized first edition legal volumes, I placed a small device Carlos had procured. When activated, it would broadcast every recording Sarah and I had collected directly to FBI headquarters. Tomorrow, James Morrison would arrive at his attorney's office expecting to steal a fortune. Instead, he'd trigger his own destruction. The hunter was about to become prey, and I'd spent a lifetime perfecting the kill shot. The morning of reckoning arrived with thunderstorms that rattled windows and set everyone on edge. James paced the kitchen checking his phone obsessively while pretending to care about breakfast. I sipped coffee calmly, the weight of the remote trigger in my pocket a comfort. "Kids seem quiet today," I observed. "Probably the weather." James barely glanced at Emma and Jack, who were unusually subdued. They knew something was happening, even if they couldn't name it. At 8:30, Maria Rivera arrived as planned. "Mr. Morrison, I hope you don't mind. Carlos mentioned the children might enjoy a playdate with my daughters today. I thought with everything happening." James looked suspicious, but I intervened. "That's very thoughtful, Maria. Kids need normalcy right now." "But we have the attorney meeting," James protested. "Which they don't need to attend. Let them play, James. God knows they've seen enough sadness." He acquiesced, though his jaw clenched. Emma hugged me extra tight before leaving, whispering, "Love you, Grandpa." Jack waved solemnly. They were safe. Now I could work. James's attorney occupied a glass tower downtown, all chrome and intimidation. Richard Brennan had the look of a man who'd sell his mother for billable hours. He greeted us with practiced sympathy. "Mr. Thompson, my condolences about your daughter. Tragic situation." "Thank you." I let grief color my voice, while noting the documents already spread across his conference table. "Shall we begin?" Brennan pushed papers forward. "These are standard beneficiary transfers ensuring the children's financial security should the worst occur." I picked up the first document, reading carefully. Hidden among legitimate insurance forms were authorizations giving James complete control over Sarah's trust fund, her investment portfolio, and surprisingly properties I didn't know she owned. "Sarah had this much?" I asked, genuinely surprised. James leaned forward. "She was always careful with money, invested her inheritance from her mother wisely." Her mother's inheritance. The $50,000 I'd given Sarah when Helen died. According to these papers, it had grown to over $2 million through mysterious investments I knew Sarah never made. Where did these properties come from? I pointed to addresses in Florida and Nevada. Brennan answered smoothly. Purchased through her investment corporation. Tax advantages. I recognized the addresses from Sarah's evidence. Properties bought with money stolen from dead clients hidden under her name without her knowledge. James had been framing my daughter for his crimes. I'd like to review these more carefully, I said. Tainath. Time is a factor, James pressed. The insurance companies need these filed immediately. Then they should have sent them sooner. I stood gathering the papers. I'll have my attorney review everything and return them tomorrow. Lynn, please. James's mask cracked slightly. We're family. Don't you trust me? I met his eyes directly. I trusted you with my daughter. Look how that turned out. Brennan shifted uncomfortably. James's face darkened, but he forced a smile. Of course. Take your time. Though the memorial service is tomorrow. Memorial service? I thought it would help with closure. 4 o'clock at Riverside Chapel? Nothing elaborate. A memorial for a woman who wasn't dead. His arrogance was breathtaking. I'll think about it. We left Brennan's office in tense silence. In the elevator, James finally spoke. You've changed, Lynn. You're not acting like yourself. Grief changes people. Or suspicion. He watched my reflection in the polished doors. Someone's been filling your head with lies about me. Like who? Sarah had wild theories before her accident. I hoped she hadn't infected you with her paranoia. I turned slowly, letting him see the prosecutor who'd sent 300 criminals to prison. Paranoia. My daughter is fighting for her life because she went to buy milk. That's not paranoia, James. That's tragedy. The elevator opened before he could respond. We walked to our cars in silence, but I felt his eyes boring into my back. The pretense was crumbling. Back at the house, I found chaos. The front door stood open, furniture overturned. I drew the pistol from my glove compartment and entered carefully. The house had been ransacked, every drawer dumped, every cushion slashed. But the search pattern told me something crucial: they'd avoided the basement. James's hidden stash remained untouched. I called him immediately. James, someone broke into the house. What? His shock sounded genuine. I'm 5 minutes away. He arrived in 3, face pale. Together we surveyed the damage, and I watched realization dawn. This wasn't random. This was Torino sending a message. We should call the police, I suggested. No, too quick, too sharp. I mean, they can't do anything. Probably teenagers. Teenagers who bypassed your security system. His phone rang before he could answer. The color drained from his face as he listened. Yes, I understand. Tonight. I'll have it. He hung up hands, trembling. Lynn, I need to ask you something. Do you have access to Sarah's accounts? Emergency access. Soin. Why would you need that? There are business obligations. Contracts she signed. Without immediate payment, there could be complications. Complications named Vincent Torino. I pretended to consider. I might have some access. How much do you need? $2 million. $2 million, James. What has Sarah involved in Aishtwat? He gripped my shoulders, desperation cracking his facade completely. Please, Lynn, you don't understand. These people, if I don't pay them tonight, they'll come for the children. There it was. The confession I needed, recorded by 12 different devices. What people? James, what have you done? It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Small amounts at first, covering bad investments. Then they owned me. Sarah found out, threatened to expose everything. I tried to reason with her. So you had her killed? The mask shattered completely. She gave me no choice. She was going to destroy everything I'd built. My reputation, my business. You think you know your daughter, Lynn? She was planning to run off with that doctor, take my children away. Lies wrapped in delusion. And Marcus Webb? The Johnsons. Did they give you no choice either? His expression went flat reptilian. "You've been busy." "I've been thorough. It's what prosecutors do." "Former prosecutors. Old men who should mind their own business." He pulled out his phone. "I still have cards to play, Lynn. One call and your grandchildren disappear forever." "You mean this call?" I activated my phone's speaker. James's voice filled the room. "50,000 each. Tomorrow night, Newark warehouse." His face went white. "You recorded everything. Every conversation, every crime, every murder you planned." I pulled out the remote trigger. "Right now, federal agents are receiving 3 years of evidence. Your client lists Torino's operation, Diana Chen's involvement. It's over, James." He lunged at me with shocking speed, but I'd been expecting it. The pistol came up smoothly, and he froze. "Sit down," I commanded. "You can't prove anything. It's all hearsay illegally obtained." "Sarah obtained it. Home recordings between spouses perfectly legal, and she was working with the FBI making every piece admissible." I smiled coldly. "You really should have paid attention when she watched those legal dramas." The front door exploded inward. FBI agents in tactical gear flooded the house, weapons drawn. Agent Whitfield entered last, displaying his badge. "James Morrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy money laundering and the attempted murder of Sarah Thompson." "Attempted." James's head snapped up. "She's alive." "Alive and ready to testify." Whitfield nodded to his team. "Take him." As they cuffed James, he stared at me with pure hatred. "You set me up! You crazy old bastard, you set me up!" "No, son. You set yourself up the day you decided my daughter was expendable. I just helped you finish the job." They dragged him out, screaming about lawyers and deals. I followed Whitfield outside, where more agents were arriving. "Torino?" I asked. "Teams are hitting 6 locations simultaneously. Your evidence gave us everything." He paused. "Diana Chen tried to run. Didn't make it to the airport." I felt no satisfaction, only exhaustion. "The memorial service tomorrow. He planned to collect condolences while spending my daughter's money. Instead, he'll be in federal lockup. Lynn, you took enormous risks. You could have been killed." "He threatened my family. There was never a choice." As crime scene techs processed the house, I stood in the rain, letting it wash away 5 days of performance and pain. Tomorrow, Sarah would come home. Her children would have their mother back. James would begin his journey toward a lifetime in prison. Justice served cold and complete. The safe house where they'd kept Sarah looked ordinary from the outside, just another suburban home in a quiet neighborhood. Inside, my daughter waited with bandages on her ribs and hope in her eyes. "Daddy." She flew into my arms, sobbing. "Is it really over? Are my babies safe?" "Safe, and asking for you constantly. Carlos and Maria have been spoiling them rotten." Agent Whitfield joined us in the living room, where Diana Chen sat in handcuffs, her perfect makeup running in black streams. The femme fatale who'd helped orchestrate 3 murders looked smaller in custody. "Miss Chen has been very cooperative," Whitfield noted. "Haven't you, Diana?" She glared at me with venom. "You destroyed everything. James said you were just a broken old man." "James says many things, few of them true." I turned to Whitfield. "Has she provided useful information?" "Names, dates, offshore accounts. Apparently she kept records of her own. Insurance against James betraying her." "There's no honor among thieves," Diana spat. "Or murderers. Did you know your precious son-in-law killed his first wife too?" Sarah gasped. I kept my expression neutral, though this was news. "James was married before—" Diana laughed bitterly. "College sweetheart. She discovered his gambling debts and threatened divorce. Poor thing fell down the stairs. James collected $500,000 in insurance and called it seed money for his business. Another victim to add to his tally." Sarah looked sick. "I married a serial killer." "You married a facade," I corrected. "The real James Morrison never existed." Whitfield's phone buzzed. He answered face grave. Understood. We'll be ready. He hung up and addressed us. Torino's lawyer is trying to cut a deal. He wants to meet with the lead witness. Absolutely not, I said immediately. Actually. Sarah straightened steel in her voice. I want to face him. These men think they own the world because people fear them. I'm done being afraid. An hour later, we sat in a federal building conference room. Vincent Torino, the untouchable crime boss, wore orange jumpsuit and shackles. His attorney, a shark in a $3,000 suit, started immediately. My client has information about other operations, names that would make careers. In exchange for consideration. No deals. Sarah's voice cut through his pitch. You tried to murder me. You turned my husband into a monster. You destroyed families for money. Torino studied her with dead eyes. Your husband came to us, lady. We didn't recruit him. He begged for our money, promised huge returns. When he couldn't deliver, he offered alternatives. What alternatives? Whitfield asked. Information, account numbers, access to rich clients. Torino shrugged. Then he got creative, started arranging accidents. We told him to stop. Dead clients can't pay debts. But he liked it. Got a taste for playing God. Sarah paled but held firm. You could have refused, could have walked away. Could have, didn't. Torino leaned forward. Your husband's a special kind of evil, lady. We're criminals, sure, but we have rules. Morrison. He'd sell his own mother if the price was right. Why do you think we wanted insurance? Even crooks don't trust him. His words rang with twisted truth. James had been too toxic even for organized crime. They'd used him, but never trusted him, always watching, always ready for betrayal. The children, I interjected. You were going to take them as collateral. Business is business. No apology, no emotion. But for what it's worth, they'd have been returned unharmed once paid. We're not animals. Your son-in-law, though, he had other plans for them. Asked about buyers overseas. Even we have limits. Sarah's composure finally cracked. I held her as she sobbed, processing the depths of evil she'd unknowingly married. Torino watched impassively. We done here? He asked his lawyer. I got a cell waiting. As they led him away, he paused at the door. Thompson, word of advice. Check Morrison's cabin in the mountains. Things buried there that'll interest you. Then he was gone, leaving us with another mystery. Sarah wiped her eyes, rage replacing tears. I want to see James. I need to look him in the eye and ask why. That's not advisable, Whitfield cautioned. I don't care about advisable. I care about answers. 2 hours later, we faced James through reinforced glass. He wore Suicide Watch orange, his golden boy appearance crumbling without expensive products and clothing. When he saw Sarah alive, his face cycled through shock rage and finally cold calculation. Hello, darling, he drawled. You look well for a corpse. Why, James, I loved you. We had a family. Why wasn't it enough? He laughed, an ugly sound. Love, you think love pays for country clubs and private schools? Your pathetic teacher's salary barely covered groceries. So you murdered people for money. I eliminated problems. Webb was going to destroy my reputation. The Johnsons were threatening litigation. Simple business decisions. He leaned forward, eyes glittering. Want to know a secret, Sarah? You were never supposed to find out. I was careful for years. But you had to play detective, had to snoop where you didn't belong. Our children could have been sold into slavery. Only if necessary. I had buyers lined up, yes, but I preferred them alive and legitimate. Organs are worth more than slaves anyway. The casual evil staggered us both. This wasn't a man driven to desperation. This was a predator who'd worn a mask of humanity. Your first wife, Sarah whispered. Diana told us. Did you push her? James smiled, the expression chilling. Gravity pushed her. I just helped her find the stairs. Like you found that truck on Highway 9. Unfortunate how accidents happen to curious women. You're insane. I'm practical. You're the one who couldn't leave well enough alone." His gaze shifted to me. "And you, old man? You think you've won? I've got appeals, lawyers, connections you can't imagine." "What you've got," I replied calmly, "is life without parole. Minimum. More likely death row for the Webb murder. Your connections are all being arrested, your money's frozen, and your lawyers will abandon you once the retainer runs out. We'll see about—" I pressed the intercom button, cutting him off. "Actually, we won't. This is the last time you'll see any of us. Sarah's divorcing you, the children will forget you existed, and you'll die in a cage surrounded by the criminals you thought you were better than." Standing to leave, Sarah delivered her final words. "I'm pregnant, James. 3 months. Another baby you'll never meet, never corrupt. Your legacy ends here." His scream of rage followed us down the corridor, echoing off concrete walls. In the parking lot, Sarah leaned against me, shaking. "Is it true?" I asked gently. "About the pregnancy?" "Yes, I found out the day before the accident. I was going to surprise him at dinner." She laughed bitterly. "Surprise? This child will know only love," I promised. "Only safety and truth." Dad Torino mentioned a cabin. "Should we tell Whitfield?" I considered, then nodded. "Tomorrow. Tonight you're going to hold your children and remember what matters. Justice is patient. Family isn't." We drove toward Carlos's house where Emma and Jack waited. Sarah stared out the window, processing her transformed life. "I feel like I should have known," she said quietly. "What kind of person doesn't recognize evil sleeping beside them?" "A good person," I answered. "Someone who believes in love and trust. His camouflage worked because you have a pure heart. That's not weakness, sweetheart. That's strength he could never understand." Will the kids be okay growing up knowing their father was a monster? They'll know their mother was a hero. Their grandfather protected them. Their real family chose love over fear. That's their true inheritance. As we pulled into the driveway, 2 small faces appeared at the window. Emma and Jack burst from the house, racing toward their mother. Sarah dropped to her knees, gathering them close, tears mixing with rain that had started falling. "Mommy Grandpa said you were sick, but you'd come back." Jack buried his face in her shoulder. "I'm here, baby. I'm here and I'm never leaving again." Emma, older and wiser, looked between us. "Is Daddy in trouble? He was mean before you got hurt." Sarah met her daughter's eyes honestly. "Yes, sweetheart. Daddy did bad things and has to go away. But we're safe now." "Forever?" Jack asked. I knelt beside them, pulling all 3 into my arms. "Forever and a day. That's a grandpa promise." Lightning split the sky, thunder rolling across the neighborhood. But there in the rain, holding my family, I felt only peace. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and logistics excavating whatever horrors James had hidden in his mountain cabin. Tonight, though, we were together. The monster was caged. The family was whole. Justice had prevailed not through violence or revenge, but through patience, courage, and the unbreakable bonds of love. As we headed inside, Sarah whispered, "Thank you, Dad, for everything." "Thank your mother," I replied, touching the wedding ring I still wore. "She always said I'd do anything to protect our family. Turns out she was right as usual." 6 months after James Morrison's arrest, I stood in a packed courtroom, watching him receive 5 consecutive life sentences. He'd aged 20 years. In half a year, his golden boy persona, replaced by hollow eyes and prison pallor. When the judge read the verdict for Marcus Webb's murder, someone in the gallery whispered, "Finally." The mountain cabin Torino mentioned had yielded its secrets to FBI excavation teams. 3 bodies, all former clients who'd threatened exposure. James had turned that peaceful retreat into a graveyard, each victim funding his lifestyle through posthumous theft. Sarah sat beside me, her hand resting on her swollen belly. 7 months pregnant now, she radiated the peace that comes from surviving hell. Emma and Jack flanked us, dressed in their best clothes, understanding that today marked an ending and beginning. As they led James away, he turned for one last look at his family. Emma pressed closer to her mother, while Jack simply waved goodbye. That innocent gesture seemed to break something in James. He stumbled, guards catching his arms. Then the door closed, severing him from our lives forever. Outside the courthouse, Jennifer Webb waited with other families James had destroyed. One by one, they embraced Sarah, sharing tears and gratitude. These strangers bound by tragedy had become an extended family, supporting each other through trials and testimony. "Thank you," Jennifer whispered to me, "for not giving up, for believing us." Diana Chen had testified in exchange for 25 years instead of life. Her revelations exposed a network of financial predators targeting elderly clients across 3 states. Dozens of families would recover stolen funds, though nothing could restore their lost loved ones. Vincent Torino never made it to trial, found dead in his cell, officially suicide, though nobody believed it. His organization crumbled without leadership, $2 million in blood money scattered to the wind. Street justice, swift and final. "Grandpa, can we go to the lake now?" Jack tugged my sleeve already, forgetting the somber courtroom. Children's resilience amazed me. "After one more stop, I promised." We drove to Riverside Cemetery, where a different memorial service unfolded. Not the mockery James had planned while believing Sarah dead, but a real gathering at Helen's grave. My wife's headstone bore fresh flowers, Sarah's weekly tribute to the mother who'd taught her strength. "Hi, Mom." Sarah spoke softly. "We made it through. Dad protected us just like you always said he would. I'm having another baby. If it's a girl, I'm naming her Helen. She'll know about her grandmother who loved fiercely and taught me to recognize truth." Emma placed a drawing beside the flowers, a crayon family portrait, including a figure labeled Grandma in Heaven. Jack added his favorite toy car, convinced angels needed transportation. I stood back, letting them commune with Helen's memory, while remembering her final words. "Take care of our girl, Lynn. She's stronger than she knows." "You were right, my love, as always." Later at my cabin by the lake, we held the real celebration. Carlos and Maria brought homemade tamales. Agent Whitfield, now simply Marcus to us, arrived with his wife and children. The Webb family, the Johnsons' surviving son, even the prosecutor who'd secured maximum sentences joined our gathering. "To survival," Marcus raised his glass as the sun painted golden paths across the water. "To family," Sarah countered her sparkling cider, catching light. "To Grandpa." Emma and Jack chorused, already sticky from Maria's cookies. I looked around at these faces, some scarred by loss, but all choosing hope over bitterness. To justice. Not the kind delivered in courtrooms, but the kind we create by refusing to let evil win. We drank, we ate, we shared stories that shifted from tragedy to triumph. As darkness fell, Emma asked the question I'd been expecting. "Grandpa, why did Daddy become bad? He used to be nice." I pulled her onto my lap, choosing words carefully. "Sometimes people wear masks, sweetheart. They pretend to be good while hiding darkness inside. Your daddy chose to feed that darkness until it consumed him. Could we have saved him if we loved him more?" Sarah intervened gently. "No, baby. Love can't fix someone who chooses evil. We loved him, but he loved money and power more. That was his choice, not our failure." "Will I become bad too, since he's my daddy?" "Never," I said firmly. "You know why? Because you have your mother's heart, your grandmother's spirit, and a family who'll always remind you what real strength looks like. Badness isn't inherited, Emma. It's chosen. And you'll choose light always." She nodded solemnly, then brightened. "Can we make s'mores now?" As the children raced for marshmallows, Sarah leaned against me on the deck. "Dad, how did you know? How did you see through him? When I couldn't?" "Experience, partly. 30 years of prosecuting taught me that evil often comes wrapped in charm. But mostly," I smiled. "Your mother. She never liked James said he smiled too much with his mouth and not enough with his eyes. Even gone, she protected you." I miss her. Me too, every day. But she lives on in you and Emma's determination in Jack's gentle heart. In this new baby who'll grow up surrounded by love instead of lies. Marcus Whitfield joined us, watching the fire pit spark to life. Lynn, I've been meaning to ask. That recording device in James's study, how'd you know he wouldn't find it? I chuckled. Psychology. Men like James worship knowledge, collect books they never read to appear intellectual. Those first edition law books were pristine, never touched. Perfect hiding spot for someone who valued appearance over substance. Prosecutor's instincts never fade, huh? Neither does a father's love, or a grandfather's determination to see his family safe. Sarah's phone rang. She answered, face brightening. Really, that's wonderful. Yes, we'll be there tomorrow. She hung up, eyes shining. Robert Mitchell, you remember from the trial, the teacher who testified about suspicious activity at the school? I remembered. Quiet man, taught 5th grade, had noticed James recruiting school employees for his schemes. What about him? He asked if the kids and I would like to join his hiking club. Just families, nothing romantic. He thought Emma and Jack might enjoy normal activities after everything. And you said yes? I said I'd think about it. She blushed slightly. Is it too soon to consider normal to maybe trust someone again? Trust isn't given, it's earned. Let him earn it slowly. But Sarah, I squeezed her shoulder. Your mother started dating me 3 months after her first husband died in Vietnam. She said life was too short to let fear steal chances at happiness. But what if I'm wrong again? Then you'll survive again, because that's what Thompson women do, but this time you won't be alone in judging character. He'll have to pass the grandfather test. She laughed, the sound pure music after months of tears. Poor Robert, he has no idea what he's in for. Any man worth your time will welcome the scrutiny. The party continued past midnight, children finally crashing in the guest rooms, while adults shared quieter conversation. As I walked Marcus to his car, he handed me an envelope. What's this? Job offer. FBI's creating a new unit focused on financial crimes targeting families. We need someone with your experience consulting. Part-time, your own hours? Interested. I thought of retirement, of quiet days fishing. Then I remembered Jennifer Webb's tears, other families still waiting for justice. I'll consider it. That's all I ask. He paused at his car. Lynn, what you did, most people would have fallen apart. You saved your family and took down a major crime ring. How? I looked back at the cabin, glowing with warmth and laughter. Someone once told me that real strength isn't about showing power. It's about knowing when to use it. James thought I was just a broken old man. He forgot that broken doesn't mean defeated, and old just means I've had more time to learn patience. After everyone left, I sat alone on the dock, feet dangling over water that reflected stars. Helen's spirit felt close in the night breeze and the loon's distant call. We did it, love, I whispered. Sarah's safe. The babies are protected. Evil lost. Wind chimes on the cabin porch played their quiet melody, almost like an answer. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Sarah's divorce finalization custody arrangements, helping 2 children understand their changed world. But tonight, peace reigned. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Thank you for being the father every child deserves, but not all receive. I love you. I smiled, typing back, thank your mother. She made me promise to be the man she knew I could be. I love you too. As I headed inside, I paused at the window, watching Sarah tuck Emma and Jack into bed. She moved carefully pregnancy, making her graceful in that special way expectant mothers achieve. In 4 months, new life would join our family. A child born from ashes of betrayal, but raised in gardens of love. The story that began with a midnight phone call and a surgeon's desperate warning had found its ending. Not in violence or revenge, but in the quiet triumph of good people refusing to let evil win. James Morrison had tried to destroy my family. Instead, he'd revealed our unbreakable strength. To those reading this wondering if justice truly exists in a world of James Morrisons and Vincent Torinos, let me tell you what I've learned. Evil is real, wearing $1,000 suits and perfect smiles. It targets the vulnerable exploits trust and feels no remorse. But love is stronger. Not naive love that blinds us to danger, but fierce love that protects, patient love, that plans, and determined love that never ever gives up. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is appear weak while preparing to defend what matters most. Sometimes justice requires playing the long game, gathering evidence while evil grows overconfident. And sometimes, just sometimes, the broken old man evil dismisses becomes the instrument of its downfall. My name is Lynn Thompson. I'm a grandfather, a widower, a retired prosecutor, and now a man who knows that family isn't just about blood. It's about choosing to stand together when darkness threatens, refusing to let fear win, and believing that tomorrow can be better than yesterday. Sarah calls me her hero. But the truth, she's mine. She found the courage to document evil while living with it. She chose truth over comfortable lies. She protected her children even while facing death. That's real heroism, the kind that doesn't wear capes or carry guns but stands up anyway. To everyone fighting their own James Morrison, remember this. You are stronger than you know. Help exists if you reach for it. And sometimes the person evil underestimates most becomes its greatest downfall. Thank you for sharing our journey. May you find strength in our story, and remember that even in the darkest night, dawn always comes. Stay safe, trust wisely, and never forget that love, real love, conquers all. What would you do if you discovered someone you trusted was living a double life? Have you ever had to choose between comfortable lies and dangerous truth? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched you, please consider sharing it with others who might need reminders that they're not alone in facing life's betrayals. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of resilience and redemption, and hit that like button if you believe in the power of family to overcome any challenge. Thank you for listening, and remember, real strength often comes disguised as patience and justice, though sometimes delayed is never truly denied.